Hi class, I'm glad everybody's here today and I hope that you had a great weekend. We left off last Friday talking about the 1930s, and when we left off, the United States was in the Great Depression. It had a great influence on fashion of the 1930s. So we're going to go to the next decade, which is the 40s, and our objective for the day is, given the information from the PowerPoint, the student will be able to identify trends and events from the 1940s and be able to pass a quiz afterwards with a score above an 80. So let's just go ahead and briefly talk about the 1940s. Has anyone ever studied the Great Depression?
No.
No. Okay, well, we learned a little bit about it last class, just the effect that it had on fashion. So the nation was just in a really bad economic time. People didn't have jobs. People couldn't afford clothing. It was just really bad overall for the economy. Has anyone ever thought about what a downturn in economy has, what effect that has on fashion?
Yes.
Yes. Usually there's not as many sales. Stocks go down. It's usually not a good time, and stores are usually struggling to make their day-to-day sales goals. So this is really important to know what events go on during the decades, because world and social events heavily influence fashion. To fully understand trends, you must understand what is going on during that time period, politically, socially, in the arts, and economically. Do any of you have grandparents and know anyone that was alive during the 1940s that talks about activities that they did? Maybe they went to jazz clubs, hung out at the beach. Bathing suits became really popular during this time. Anyone?
No.
No? Okay, well, the 1940s, yeah, they'd be kind of old by now, so let's go ahead and jump in and see what their life was all about during the 1940s. Let's see. The country at this time. During the early years of this decade, the United States was rebounding from the Depression. The Depression actually ended late in the 1930s. During those times, hemlines actually rose because people could not afford fabric, so they couldn't do the long flowy dresses and all the stuff that they had been wearing in the past few decades. In 1942, the United States entered World War II. World War II actually helped American designers because designers from other countries had to shut down their fashion houses due to the war, which gave American designers a chance to fill the void and become influential. Following the war, the United States was actually very, very prosperous. It was a great time once we got through the 1940s. So we're going to talk about some significant designers and their fashion contribution. Pauline Adams, Simone Naudet, and Rose Beloit were all hat designers. Hat designers are also called milliners. And hats were very popular during this time because fabric was scarce. So hats are really easy to make. They require a lot less fabric than a dress or a shirt. And they were easy ways to add some color, add some creativity to an outfit that you'd already worn before. Bonnie Cashin made boots an essential accessory. And Claire McCardell is known for matching separates, the full tint dress, and the diaper bathing suit. Here we're going to see some pictures of different hats that were popular during this time. You can see all the hats are really creative. They're good ways to add fun, fresh newness to an old outfit, especially when you couldn't afford anything at this time period. Here we see some of Bonnie Cashin's designs right here with the full skirt and the jacket. And here is a bathing suit by Claire McCardell. Bathing suits are very popular. You can see it's kind of bunchier on the butt. That's why they called it the diaper bathing suit. Then, in the 1940s, Christian Dior introduced the new look in 1947. The look literally changed fashion overnight, and it became the basis of style for the next 10 years. Here we have the new look. Cinched at the waist, jacket, full at the bottom, and a hat. This was considered the new look. Let's see. And then for men, actually the zoot suit became very popular. The zoot suit was your typical suit. It's a little bit longer at the jacket, had very wide lapels, and pinstripe was very, very popular during the 1940s. The silhouettes of the era. The most common silhouette of the era would be an hourglass shape. Does anyone here know what an hourglass silhouette is?
Yes.
Yes, it's where you're squared off at the shoulders, you're going to be cinched at the waist, and then flare out again. So just kind of take it like an hourglass. Yes, following. So, a lot of times to achieve this look, women actually use shoulder pads. They would put the shoulder pads in their jacket or their dress to help give them a boxier shape up around their neck area. And men, their silhouette was actually also a box shape. Music was very popular during this time period because the war was going on. People just needed an escape. So a lot of the music during that time period were artists expressing the pain that the country was going through. But the song always started out with pain and then ended with a positive outlook at the direction that the country would be going. Other genres that were popular were jazz and big band. Two really, really famous artists would be Glenn Miller and Judy Garland and Bing Crosby. Bing Crosby sang White Christmas, which is actually still heard on a lot of classic Christmas CDs sold to this day. Judy Garland, she sang Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I'm sure everybody knows that song and knows who Judy Garland is. And we are going to take a listen to Glenn Miller's In the Mood because I know every one of you have heard it. It's used in a lot of movies nowadays. So let's just take a listen. Everybody tell me if this song sounds familiar to you. You've heard this in movies, yes. And normally it's at an upbeat part where, something good's going on. It's a very happy song. A lot of instruments, trombones, trumpets. It's definitely big band. It's definitely a lot of fun. Next, we're going to go on to what's his name? Dizzy Gillespie, and he was actually a scatter. And this type of music was called bebop, and it's fast-tempo jazz where instead of singing, you scat. And scatting is very interesting. We're going to go ahead and take a listen to that. Has anyone ever heard anything like this? Scatting? No. Scatting is interesting because they're not really saying words. It's just kind of sounds and noises all put together to go along with the beat. But this was very, very popular during this time. We're going to go ahead and talk about movies. Movies became very popular in the 1940s. A lot of families would get together, watch movies together. It was just a great way to pass the time. One film that came out in the 1940s was Walt Disney's Fantasia. A lot of you are probably thinking, Fantasia, I have that in my DVD collection now. It's since been digitally remastered, and it's insane to watch it now as opposed to what it was. Fantasia was a film that combined animated characters with classical music. It was one of the first movies of its kind, and it used all, the cartoons, the elephants, all the animals, and that's really appealing to children. Another movie that came out during this time is Meet Me in St. Louis. Meet Me in St. Louis is still considered a classic today. Also, It's a Wonderful Life came out in 1946, but the movie didn't gain popularity until 1970, which is really weird because why, 20 years later did people all of a sudden think this was such a great movie? But it's really considered a classic today, and many people really like that movie. Plays and theatrical productions. Plays in the 1940s turned to abstractionism. Does anyone know what abstractionism means?
No, what is it?
Abstractionism are thoughts that are apart from concrete realities. Many people found these plays bizarre, and they found them difficult to understand. Musical theater was also reborn during this time period. Musicals such as Annie, Get Your Gun and Oklahoma were watched by many, many people. Let's see. Arts and artists. Many artists migrated to the United States after Hitler forbid them from painting due to opposing beliefs. One group of artists, they called themselves the abstract expressionists, and this just meant that, they painted with abstract themes, separate from reality is what we discussed that abstract meant. And they were really heavy and deep and dark, and a lot of people found them beautiful, a lot of people found them kind of depressing. Social activities during this time. Social activities, the television is commercially available, and it brought families together. A lot of families would get together in the evenings, watch TV together. It was a great bonding experience for them. People went to big band and jazz concerts. They probably went and saw Dizzy Gillespie and Glenn Miller and all those artists that we just took a listen to. And for leisure, people played sports such as baseball, football, and golf. So really, social activities in the 1940s aren't that much different than activities that we do today. The lifestyle of the people. World War II brings women into the workplace while the men are away. This is where we see Rosie the Riveter come into effect. We can see this here is Rosie. She's really muscular. She's strong. She's holding a piece of heavy equipment. This is just basically, showing us that, we are women, and yes, we are going to enter the workforce while the men are gone. And here we have a flyer of a woman who's basically, they're saying victory awaits on your fingers. The women are going to have to take control while the men are gone. Many goods were rationed during this time period. Fabrics such as nylon, wool, and silk were scarce because they were used in military uniform. And the economy of the nation. This decade was very, very pivotal for the United States. We started the 40s, economy was really down. We ended the 40s, and everything was really prosperous. This was due to labor unions. Labor unions helped businesses to expand overseas and trade overseas. So this was really, really good for the United States. And during the war, we started producing supplies, so we were getting money. So the United States was doing pretty good. Other significant events from the 1940s. Japan attacks Pearl Harbor, the Holocaust begins, penicillin is used for chronic disease, Truman becomes president after the death of Roosevelt, and the war ends in 1945, and in 1948, Gandhi was assassinated. So we're going to take a quick break here, and when I come back, we're going to do a 3-2-1 analysis.